What's up guys, Rhys here from Stoic Pool, busting out one of the new Stoic Pool t-shirts, fancy mint green, love it. In this video, I'm going to be talking about whether or not you should start a stake pool. Let's get into it. Right guys, so a lot of people have reached out to me with questions about starting a stake pool, and my first instinct is no. Now the reason I say that is because a lot of people who reach out to me either just hold ADA, just have some ADA and want to turn that into something a little bit more lucrative, which I completely understand. Nothing wrong with that at all. But there's a lot that goes into actually operating a stake pool. You need to have the chops to actually make the pool. You need to be able to market it, and you need to be able to actually spend the time making sure you keep track of updates, what's going on, and although they seem like very small things, they actually take up a lot of time. The first thing, if someone asks me about starting a stake pool, I ask if they understand how to use Linux, if they can operate it, if they are used to working with servers and stuff like that, because that is that's the fundamental skill, actually the technical aspect of running a stake pool. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I decided to start a stake pool, I had no idea about Linux, and so what I did is I spent a month and a half researching, learning, and starting wrapping my head around how to operate a stake pool. I learned how to use Linux and the command line. I learned how to set up servers and how to basically I read all the documentation from all the different things that Cardano supplied. Now they have even more tools, but I made it my job to learn about stake pools and how to operate them and every aspect of that before I actually set up my stake pool. I spent a good month and a half studying Linux as a full-time job. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that, by the way. If you have the time to do it, yeah, fair enough. But there's more to actually operating a stake pool than just understanding how to do it and understanding the technical aspect. With stake pools, there is a big community of all the stake pool operators who have different community chat groups. So there's the Cardano forum, there's Telegram, I believe there's a Discord, but I don't use it, so I don't know. But there are multiple channels where you can actually communicate with other SPOs. Twitter's a big thing as well. Not everyone's present on all of them, and there are a handful of people off the top of my head who are on all day, every day, and a big shout out to them, because when I started, I made loads of mistakes and I had loads of trouble, and it's those guys who really helped me out. Especially you, Homer, so big thumbs up to you, mate. Oh, and Eden. Damn, Janet Eden, yeah, you sorted me out a lot and I really appreciate it. And they're not the only guys, loads of different SPOs reached out. Didn't reach out, but responded to me. But you got to understand that you can't learn to operate a stake pool by asking people questions in the Telegram channel. Every morning when I log into Telegram, I see questions from people asking about very, very basic things with operating their stake pool. And I set mine up seven months ago now, I think. And then the community was a reasonable size, but it wasn't massive and there wasn't as much assistance. Nowadays, people are asking very, very basic questions who they just haven't searched for the answer. They haven't taken it upon themselves to actually find out. That is a big problem, because these people, other SPOs, they got their own jobs, they got their own work. Yeah, they want to help out the community, and me personally, I'm incredibly grateful for all of the assistance that I got, but I never expected a response because everyone's busy. Literally everyone's busy, and the reality is if you're asking people questions on Telegram, you're not people's priority, and that's something you got to understand. So, say you have all the skills you need to be able to operate a stake pool, then there's still other things that you need to consider. How are you going to get delegation? Okay, when I set up my pool, it was end of September in 2020. So end of September 2020, it was very, very difficult to get people to stake to your pool. It's just got harder. It's got a lot harder, guys, because you know what? Cardano is more expensive now. And most people who had lots of ADA are already staking to certain pools. And you need to be able to market to people, get in front of people to persuade them to actually, or to give them a reason to actually stake to your pool. Now, it's not impossible, and you can increase the stake to your pool. Mine has been growing steadily, like since probably December time. It's just steadily been growing, like little bits at a time, sometimes bigger bits, sometimes smaller bits, you know, and we've gone from 140k to 2.5 million, but it's been a very slow process. All the guys who started in the testnet and then launched their pools to the mainnet when they switched to when the Shelley hard fork happened, these guys have always been full or very close to. You know, these guys have always had delegation. I haven't really had to spend a lot of time looking for it. I was 2 months behind, or like a month and a half behind, and I still struggle to get delegation. All right, guys, so that's just something to think about. I make YouTube videos, like I make a lot of YouTube videos. I could do more. I know I could do more. But just being like present on Twitter is not going to get you delegation. Just making YouTube videos isn't going to get you delegation. You know, you've got to find ways to get in front of people, because otherwise you're going to just pay a load of money for your servers, whether they're like physical servers in your house, in which case electricity is also a thing, or you're renting cloud servers from different providers, which can be incredibly expensive and adds up very, very quickly. Something else to think about. Now, recently I've seen a lot of stake pool operators offering stake pools as a service, and it's a great idea for a business. Like, it's a great business model. However, you have to realize that you're going to be paying someone to maintain a pool for you. So it's not just going to be about having a decent sized pledge, which is your stake in the pool. It's not just about getting delegations so that you start minting blocks regularly and actually get some rewards for yourself and for your delegators. You also have to pay someone else. Like, if you don't understand how to set up a pool yourself, then you probably shouldn't be running one. Okay, and that might seem harsh, but this is quite an important ecosystem that we're all building and that we're all working together to support. And if you're not going to take it seriously, if you're going to be lazy about it and not spend the time yourself to actually put in the work to learn how to do it, then you shouldn't really be trusted with that responsibility, because you just simply can't deal with any problems. Yeah, and you might say, this is my opinion, you know, you might say, oh, whatever, Rhys, like, I don't care. You didn't know it all, but I did. I actually spent a month and a half learning about it to make sure that I could, and I still didn't know everything I needed to. I still didn't know, and I'm honest with you guys about that because that's important. I need to be open with you about that. All right, but all I did was I just learned, and I had time to do that, and I also had the responsibility. It's my responsibility for me to do that. I didn't pay someone else to do that for me. I had to learn the hard way. I struggled a lot with certain things, which are very, very simple, but because I just hadn't gone through the process a lot, I didn't have enough technical understanding to monitor it. Like, I can now operate the pool fine, I can troubleshoot stuff. Yes, I still jump on the Telegram and ask some of the other SPOs for some assistance sometimes, like when something destroys itself, which happens, you know, but I know how to deal with it, I know what I'm looking for, I know how to like troubleshoot things. Like, I'm not an expert on Linux systems, but I reckon that you should have at least a moderate understanding to be able to do this yourself. All right, that's really important. The next thing is whether or not you have a lot of ADA, because the pledge is actually quite important. Having a decent sized pledge is actually something potential delegators do look for. And if you see something as like 100 ADA pledge, then I don't think they're going to take that very seriously. And I think it's actually your responsibility to have some stake in the game for you to do that. Now, I don't have the biggest pledge. It's not like I've got millions and millions of ADA sitting around in my pool, but I've got I think I have about 26,000. So my pledge is about 26,000, I believe. I might actually be wrong about that. And initially, my aim was to build it up to 50. I don't have the funds to be building that up to 50 as quickly as I had initially anticipated, because the price has moved. For someone to come into Cardano now and be like, I want to set up a stake pool, the initial cost, like the fee, the holding fee just for like setting up your stake pool is 500 ADA, which is now about $500. If you don't have that $500 spare, then on top of the costs, on top of learning, on top of potentially paying someone else, you also have to have your decent sized stake, your pledge, for people to actually be interested, plus 500 surplus, which is just going to be held while you run your stake pool. There's more to running a stake pool than just turning a stake pool on. Yeah, there is a lot of work for it. Once you get to a certain point, you don't have to do as much work. In fact, most of it, for me right now, is marketing and actually just trying to get in front of people, making videos like this to help explain more about Cardano to people who are coming into the ecosystem, and trying to converse with people who comment on my things and stuff like that. But I did spend 6 months kind of building it up to this point, so it's not like it's been no work at all. I also did this with the idea that it's going to take me a year to actually be making any money off it, or even be making regular blocks. I got really lucky with a couple of people who reached out wanting to help, and so I'm now in a position where I am making regular blocks, and it's not taken nearly as much time as I anticipated. However, I'm still not where I wanted to be. You can check out my initial roadmap on stoicpool.com for what I wanted to do with the pool. And because of the price, like now, I don't have enough money to be able to actually push into the Cardano ecosystem and buy more ADA, because the increments are going to be so small, it's almost not worth me doing right now. Is that the right approach? Maybe, maybe not. I am still planning on increasing my pledge, which I'm going to talk about in my next stake pool update, so keep track of that to find out more. But it's not like I'm going, oh yeah, I'm gonna just drop 20 grand on another 20,000 ADA so I can bring myself up to almost 50k ADA, because I just don't have that kind of money lying around, and I wouldn't expect you to either, which is why it's probably not as simple as it may seem for you to set up a stake pool. Now, I know I've just argued against making stake pools. However, if you have the skills, if you believe you can market it, if you've got a bunch of ADA lying around, or you've got like a network of friends who can like put in and do something together, I would make a contractual agreement about that, by the way, guys, just a heads up. But if you have access to those things, if you have like a bunch of you together, then do it. You know, if you reckon you can get like 1 to 2 million ADA in your pool, then do it. Because you know what, you're gonna join the other SPOs and helps do something more for the ecosystem, which is very valuable. You know, we want to decentralize the network. We want there to be enough stake pool operators for the network to be decentralized and not monopolized. Check out my previous video to find out more about that. Also, it's not like we're in direct competition. If you set up a stake pool, we're not suddenly enemies. You know, the SPO community is generally a pretty like friendly group of people who are all out to help each other. Like, you got people like Coco promoting other SPOs, you've got Brave all promoting other SPOs on Twitter. You've got people who are actively trying to help other stake pool operators succeed. And I want to play a part in that. If you're an SPO and you want me, or you want to do something with me, like some videos or something, reach out to me, because I'm open to those kinds of things. I'm open to helping everyone else as well as helping myself, obviously. We're a great community. We're all very, very heavily invested in the ecosystem. And if you do have the skills, the technical skills and the marketing skills to be able to actually build a pool, then it is very rewarding. Like, I have random conversations with people from all over the world about Cardano now, because of where Cardano is, you know, like how it's developed over the last couple of years and all the exciting stuff that we've got coming in the next few months. So I'm not telling you this to say you should never make a stake pool, and yeah, because I'm worried that you're going to take delegation from me. Like, I'm not worried about that. There's more than enough ADA in the network for us all to make regular blocks, so that's not the issue. The issue is whether or not it's actually good for the ecosystem for any random person to start spinning up stake pools. That's just something to think about. Guys, one more thing. Stake pools are opening every day. There are new pools being created every day. There are new pools closing every day as well. And there is something like 18 million ADA locked up at the minute in pools, like staked pools that do not exist anymore. 18 million ADA. Like, that's enough for 18 stake pools to make a block every epoch, or at least have a good chance of doing so. And it's just because it's very difficult to get in front of people who are buying ADA to actually explain this to them or to notify them. A lot of people stake by setting and forgetting. So it's not like you're going to go around to any of the big players, you know, you're not going to go around to any of the big boys and take delegation from them, or at least it's not like you can target those people specifically. You've also got to realize that the actual competition for us as stake pool operators is more like Binance, you know, and like I said in my last video, I'm a big fan of Binance. I use it every day, but Binance almost has a 10% ownership of all the stake pools in the ecosystem. I think it's 8 or 9% as we speak right now. That could be dangerous. It's not like Binance is being a malicious entity in the network, but they do actually have the potential to do so if they want. Okay, not right now, but you know, they could. And something like, don't quote me on this statistic, but because I've heard it from other people, but approximately 70% of the Cardano that's been staked is in 100 pools. Like, that's kind of crazy. That's actually not good for the ecosystem. It's great for those pools, you know, and I'm not like crusading against people who have big stake or anything like that. Like, big shout out to the guys who are killing it with their stake pools and have to spin up more because they're just overly saturated and everyone wants to delegate to them, like Kaizen, like Bloom, like Digi, like Eden. All you guys are smashing it, and I have no problems with you guys at all. But this is just a real chat and like an open conversation with potential stake pool operators to help them understand what it actually takes to have a fully functioning stake pool minting regular blocks. If you're not minting regular blocks, people who are staking, who like aren't your mates, will disappear because they'll just move to someone who is making regular blocks. I would do it if it was me, and it's understandable if you think about it, you probably would as well. I remember before I made my first block, the initial lot of delegation in my pool was from friends I knew, and every epoch actually a different person would reach out to me. Oh, how's the pool going? Oh, how's this happening? Like, and all I could say was, oh, we still haven't minted any blocks, guys. You know, hopefully it'll happen soon, but I don't know if it will. You know, all I can say is fingers crossed and hope we get lucky. And that's that put me under a lot of stress because, like, it's completely out of my hands. It's not like I can just press a button and mint a block, you know. It's up to the algorithm. It's up to the Cardano network, and it's completely random. Because I had such a small stake, I was only expected to make 0.1 blocks. I was literally expected to mint 0.1, sorry. I was expected to mint 0.1 blocks per epoch. 0.1. Yeah, so there was almost no chance that I was ever gonna mint a block. You know, and there was nothing I could do about that. And it just continually, every 5 days, one of my mates, like, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of us, you know, who are in this group, and they're reaching out to me going, oh, you're right, mate, hope you're doing well, how's the pool going? And I'll just be like, oh, how do I explain this to them that, like, it's completely out of my hands? Because it is, you know, it's not like I'm sitting there going, oh yeah, you know what, we won't mint blocks this epoch, you know, I wanted blocks. It was hard, and I'm not saying this, like I've already mentioned, that I'm not saying this as a deterrent from people who have the skills and have the funds to actually build pools. But I don't want you to get your hopes up, make a pool, pay someone else to make a pool, have all kinds of problems with it and not be able to deal with stuff, fall out with people like other SPOs and people who you might look up to right now, or be, you know, like, at least not look up to like they're your hero, but you know what I mean, you're like, they're actually big SPOs, you know, I'd aspire to have that kind of size stake pool, you know, like something like that, and then you fall out with them because they're not around when you need them, because of course they can't always be, it's just that simple. You're paying them to hold up your pool, which their pool is their priority at the end of the day. And I'm not saying anyone who might be offering stake pools at a service that you can't fulfill that you probably can, because otherwise why would you be offering that as a business, right? But it still puts a lot of pressure on potential relationships. It's expensive. It puts a lot of stress on yourself to actually mint blocks, and it puts a lot of stress on you when you don't mint blocks any epoch and you have those empty epochs and you're just crossing your fingers and hoping that people don't just leave your pool. I know guys who have been minting blocks, who have still just epoch after epoch, they just get a reduced stake because people are just migrating. And you can't blame people for doing that. Like, they can do whatever they like, but you need to be able to make your pool attractive enough to actually bring people in more than people leave. All right, guys, this video has been a lot longer than I expected it to be. I thought it'd be like a 5-minute thing. Sorry that I've rambled on loads about stake pools, but I think this is quite an important conversation to have with people because a lot of people are reaching out to me about this. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Let me know what you think. Leave any questions or comments in the box below. Like, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. And if you set up a stake pool recently and you're struggling, but you want to get a bit of exposure to help build, reach out to me because I'm here to help you guys. I'm not here as your enemy or as a competitor or anything like that. We're all in this together. Big shout out to Cardano. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a like, share us with your mates. I'll catch up with you in the next one. See you then.